Please give a hand for Henrik Scheel.
All right. So I love working with young people. And over the past decade, I've had the privilege of working with thousands of young adults, students, and first-time founders and help them start their first ventures. I work with young people in about 27 countries around the world. And I'm always impressed with how smart and driven and funny and charming you guys are. But I'm always also shocked to see how few of you are proactive about creating exciting opportunities for yourself. How few of you are specific about the types of goals you hope to achieve in life. I see way too many young people, and you know who you are, who are essentially just cruising through life in some way or form. Right? You're cruising through high school, and then you're cruising through college, only to one day realize that, hey, now I'm about to graduate. And you graduate with some semi-random degree, and then you find out that, hey, I probably need to make some money, so you end up taking the first available job. And now you find yourself stuck in this terrible job with these boring-ass colleagues where you're forced to work on things you're not really passionate about, and you have a boss who doesn't really see your true potential. You're barely making enough money to pay rent, and you're getting 0 to 2 weeks of vacation per year. That sounds awesome, right? That's what you're hoping to achieve? Probably not, right? It sucks, but that's what happens if you're not proactive about designing the type of life you want to live, and that you're specific about how you define success and the types of goals you want to achieve. So today I'd like to take a bit of time to talk a little bit about how you set real good goals, and then I'm going to try to share some of my own personal stories from my startup career, and I'm trying to give you 3 specific insights that can help you save a lot of tears, time, and money, hopefully. But going back to this concept of defining success, like what is success to you? Have you thought of that? I bet most of you are thinking money, right? 90% of you are like, success, that must be something to do with money. And that's fair enough. I mean, money opens up a lot of opportunities. The problem that I see is that many people, even when they start making a lot of money, I have a lot of friends who are making millions of dollars a year, and they could easily enjoy life, but they don't, because they get stuck in this rat race of just making a little bit more money, because there's always somebody with a bigger yacht, right? Somebody with a nicer car, a bigger house. And you can very easily get stuck in this race of just trying to make even more money and never feel successful and never actually take time to enjoy life. Because maybe you have a lot of money, but if you don't have the time to enjoy that money and spend it, you're not really going to get anything out of it. There's no value per se in having just money. So what I would like to suggest is an alternative metric for defining success. That you don't just think about becoming money rich, but you also think about becoming time rich. And I'll talk a little bit about what that means in various ways and how you might be able to get there. And I know many of you are probably thinking, yeah, that's good, Henrik. I would like to have more time as well. But at the moment, I have a fair amount of time, but I'm a broke student, right? So I kind of need to make some money. And that's fair enough. You might need to make a little bit of money or at least get up to a certain level. And the problem is not actually striving to make money. The problem is the way most people make those money. Right? The equation you use to generate income. And for most people, it looks a lot like this. Right? So you have some kind of money-making equation where you are putting in time, and you're exchanging your valuable time for money. So the more time you put in, you get X hourly rate, and that's your income pre-tax. Right? So if you're a lawyer, you're generating money when you're working with your clients. If you're a doctor, you make money when you're in the hospital, or if you're a hairdresser, you're making money when you're in the hair salon cutting people's hair. Make sense? Right? So as long as you have this type of money-making equation working for you, you will never truly own your own time. Because you're only making money when you're at a specific time, doing a specific time frame, and essentially getting stuck in this boring job that happens for most people. So I want to propose a way for you to potentially break out of that. And there are many ways to sort of accomplish a different type of goal. For me, the best vehicle that has worked for me is entrepreneurship. Right? So start some kind of your own business, and you need to build some type of assets that can generate what we call passive income. So passive income streams are essentially those ways you're making money while you're sleeping, or you're sitting on a beach, or you're taking a vacation with your family. So there are many ways of sort of doing this, but in my entrepreneurial journey, I always, from a very young age, realized that I enjoyed making money. So when I was 11, I was sort of delivering papers with my bicycle. When I was 13, I was cleaning dishes. But I always found that in all these different jobs, I had to be in a specific place at a specific time in order to get that job and make those money. And that ended up becoming frustrating. So I wanted to sort of break out of that. So when I got to college, I was first semester undergrad student studying engineering. I started becoming in love with this idea of becoming an entrepreneur, right? And owning my own time, being my own boss, and all that good stuff. So essentially, I came across this saying that entrepreneurs do for a few years what most people won't, so that they can live the rest of their lives like most people don't. And that kind of resonated with me. It's like, okay, I'll put in the time, I'll work 100-hour weeks for a while, and then hopefully be able to own my freedom in some way or form. So as a first semester undergrad student, I was in love with this idea of becoming an entrepreneur. And a classmate of mine, Brian, and I came up with this idea of recycling used computer equipment. So we could actually get computer equipment from these large companies in Denmark for free, and then we could delete all the data on those hard drives. We had the best formatting software in the world, and could delete all the data, and then we could take those computers and resell them to institutions, typically in Eastern Europe at the time, that were interested. So we could provide affordable computer equipment to schools and companies and other types of government entities in Eastern Europe at an affordable rate, and we could make a bit of money in the process. So this was great, and we got our first order. Very exciting. We had a company in Copenhagen. We lived in Herning, so it was like the opposite side of the country. So we rented a truck, but this company was willing to give us all this computer equipment for free. So we rented a truck and we drove across the entire country. This is Denmark, so it's like a 3-hour drive. So we got to this company and we packed all these computers into this truck. We drove them back to the university, and over the weekend we basically just piled them up, hired some student workers, and helped us delete all these hard drives, put them back in a container, ship them off to Eastern Europe. We're super excited. This was our first order, and it will be $25,000. Right, for this first order, which was a lot of money as an undergrad student, as many of you can probably relate to. So this was exciting because then we could set up this new company that we would have shared ownership. But this first order we did through my friend's company, Brian, because he already had a business, and we'll just process that order through his company, and then we'll spin it out and create a new entity. So after a couple of weeks after this order went through, I started texting Brian. He wasn't showing up for class, so it was strange. So hey Brian, so what's going on? Can we now, set up this new entity? Can we sign the contract for this new warehouse? Can we ramp up the business? And he still didn't reply to my to my texts and to my phone calls. So at some point I had to go to his house. It was like blocking his entrance. Like, hey Brian, so what's going on? Are we good to go? Are we ready to move on with this business? And at that point, he had to admit that he was actually bankrupt with his existing business, and he owed a ton of money to other investors, to the bank, and he was not able to actually set up this new business with me because he had lied the whole time and he owed all this money. So this $25,000 just disappeared into a black hole. And you can imagine this was pretty frustrating, and this was kind of a rough start of my entrepreneurial journey myself. But I learned the hard way, and I hope you don't have to make this mistake, that when you're looking for a co-founder, the most important personality characteristic to look for is integrity. Right? Only work with people you can really trust. Because in hindsight, thinking back of this, there were a couple of red flags with this guy. That he tended to lie about his past achievements and his grades and things like that. So there was something that was a little bit off, but I was just so in love with this idea of becoming an entrepreneur that I chose to ignore all those things, all those warning signs, and went ahead with it anyway, because he had complementary skills, right? He was pretty smart and pretty driven, but he didn't have that integrity. Second story I want to tell you is about my second entrepreneurial sort of venture. It took about a year or so for me to sort of recover from this first experience. But then one day we had a course. I was still an undergrad student. We had a course on design thinking and systematic creativity. And this was very exciting for me. I enjoyed this process of working with new ideas and working as a creative team to come up with brilliant ideas that nobody has ever thought about before. And then at the end of this course, our professor told us that, and guys, a lot of companies are not very good at this. They're not very good at innovating. They're not very good at being creative. And I was like, that's interesting. That sentence kind of stuck with me. So eventually I said, okay, well, I'm going to put this to the test. So I called up one of the big companies close to our college campus. And it turns out to be Siemens Wind Power, a relatively large institution. I think Siemens has 400,000 employees or something like this, so pretty big company. And I hustled a bit, and I was able to get sort of an introduction to a project manager from the Siemens Wind Power Logistics Department in the nacelle division. Okay, that sounds pretty complicated. The nacelle is essentially that house that sits on top of a wind turbine. Okay, so there's a logistics department for this unit, and I called up this lady, this wonderful lady, Heidi, and said, yes, this is Henrik Scheel. We are a design consultancy, experts in design thinking. We had one semester about design thinking, but we were self-proclaimed experts, and I wanted to hear if we should come out and help you with your innovation process, to help you come up with more and better ideas. And to my big surprise, he said, yes. That would be great. We have a 2-day retreat for 15 project managers that we would like you to come out and facilitate. So, so I was like, oh no, this is getting real very fast. So I grabbed some classmates of mine, and we ended up rereading this book on design thinking, put together a 2-day workshop, totally just pulled it off, like out of nowhere, and hoping that it would work. But it did. And to our big surprise, they ended up inviting us back. So in this case, I had just tried it, right? We didn't plan a whole lot of stuff. We just ended up taking action and calling up this person, and we ended up pulling it off. And now we had Siemens as our first client in this tiny little consulting business with all undergrad students. And you can imagine this builds a lot of credibility. So now we got all kinds of other companies, and all of a sudden we actually ended up sort of becoming experts in design thinking and creativity. My third business, or I think actually fourth business, was when after college I decided I wanted to learn more about building scalable ventures. And the best and most sexy place to go for that is, of course, Silicon Valley. So I ended up taking this internship at the Innovation Center Denmark in Silicon Valley in Palo Alto, where I was working on a lot of interesting stuff related to clean tech, because I had this background in wind technology. And that was a lot of fun, but I was still running my company back in Denmark. That wasn't really working out with that kind of distance, so I ended up selling my share in that business. But then one day, I was able to get on a call with the entrepreneurship director at Intel. And on this call, he was telling me that he was looking for a program to help with youth engagement around the world. So Intel, as you know, is a very big company, and they spend a lot of money on doing good and helping various types of education initiatives. And on this call, he was trying to ask me what kind of product I had, and I didn't have any product. So I said, tell me more about what you're looking for, right? Tell me more about exactly the type of metrics you would use to measure success. So what does success look like for this project, right? And tell me what kind of impact you would like. What is the value for Intel in doing such a project, right? So I interviewed him on the phone, essentially, turned the whole call around. And then at the end of the call, he was getting impatient, okay, Henrik, so what do you have? What is the type of product? And now, of course, I could just parrot back exactly what he told me that he was looking for. Right? Not that I had that product, but I essentially sold a product that I didn't have before we built it. And this is the best thing you can do if you are thinking about starting a new venture. The best way to de-risk an opportunity is to sell it before you build it. Does that make sense? Right, so if you can get away with that, that is phenomenal. Okay, so that's a little bit about my story as an entrepreneur. And I'd say today, most people probably would define me, especially in a place like Silicon Valley, as more of a lifestyle entrepreneur. Right? So I'm not the richest person you will come across in terms of being money rich. I'm doing okay, but I'm extremely time rich. And I think that is what I've come to realize that over the years, that owning my own time is probably the most valuable thing you can ever get to do. Right? So I don't like having long meetings with uninteresting people. I don't like working on jobs that I don't find meaningful. I don't like having a boss, and I don't like having a schedule. So I just remove all those things. And I design sort of a life that I don't have any fixed schedule. I only work with people I enjoy working with. I only work at the times I like to work on. So in the middle of the week, you will find me kite surfing sometimes, or taking my kids off and spending a day at the park. I don't count my vacation days. And this is not to brag and seem like, oh, this is just do exactly this. But the point I'm trying to make is that you should think about what type of lifestyle you would like to have, and then make some proactive choices about creating that kind of life for yourself. Because if you're not proactive, you will get stuck in this traditional 9-to-5 job, and you're not going to have a lot of choice over the matter. Very quickly, you get stuck with a mortgage, and you just have this whole thing going for you, and you're going to have those 2 to 3 weeks of vacation a year with a boss that tells you what to do, with colleagues that are maybe not that interesting. So consider an alternative path that might also work for you, and then design that kind of life. And I'm more than happy over the conference here to talk to you about some specific tactics and how to make that possible. So I want to end with a quick little quiz here. So I just wanted to shout out which one of these options you believe is the right one. So what is the most important personality trait to look for when you're looking for a co-founder? Integrity. 1 point. Good. What is the most important to do right now if you want to start a business? Is it taking action? Is it making a plan? Or is it to talk to your mom? Trick question. Always talk to your mom first. Okay. And then take action, right? Don't spend too much time planning stuff. Just taking action is much more important. Finally, what is the best way to eliminate risk? Raise a lot of money, build a lot of features in your product, or sell it before you build it? Okay, very good. Sell it before you build it. So I wanted to end this talk here in an interesting way. So I came across this beautiful picture here hanging in a restaurant the other day, and I just thought this was super meaningful. Like, be patient, good things come to those who wait. Would you agree? No! Nothing comes for those who wait, right? Be impatient, get off the couch, and make some stuff happen for yourself. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you later.